about home. They're married to real estate.
Well, hello, March 1st, and it's so wonderful to be here today in beautiful Westford. It's sunny out, and welcome to Married to Real Estate. And so, Mary, we have a really special guest today.
We
I'm
do.
so excited.
Me too.
So excited. But before we just start that whole discussion, tell me what's cooking in real estate, and why didn't you go to family reunion?
Oh, yeah. I had some other things that were going on, and I really wish I had, because there was Mel Robbins there and Tony Robbins. But I did watch it digitally, some of the breakouts. Phil Jones, who I love. He's amazing author. And just an interesting person, Exactly What to Say is one of his books. And so it's really, the words matter. And he was funny because he was saying that real estate agents were doing it all wrong at an open house. You shouldn't be, the questions that we ask that we think are friendly. Oh, what brought you in today? Well, obviously I need a house. Just funny, sort of stuff that you're like, oh, so he gave us some, you either put the people on the defensive or they think you're an idiot because you asked that, and we're all doing it wrong. So that was really, really interesting. So I did participate in family reunion, but remotely. And I'm kind of okay with not being with 15,000 realtors.
In Las Vegas.
Crammed in and, herded like cattle. So, I helped do the watch party in the office, and I've, signed a listing in Air, and I've got a couple coming on in Westford, and I've got some buyers that, are popping out now, and really great buyers that I'm working with. So, it's been... Went on a couple of appointments. People aren't ready yet, but will be, looking for rates to come down. So, yeah, I've been very real estate. I just, need to get people moving.
Yep, I understand.
So what about you, Mary?
Funky time, still doing referrals. I'm actually going to be teaching a class in the Keller Williams office.
I'm so excited.
How to do business by referral. And so while I don't sell, I do refer business. And then there's a way through brokerages to share a commission. And that's basically how
as long
that
as you
works.
have an active license.
As long as you have an active license, which is mine is with Keller Williams Westford. So I'm excited about that. I love teaching that course. And so I, too, got sick last week and had to cancel the night before. I was really under the weather. And so anyway,
but
all
you're
better now.
On the mend. All better. Glad to hear it.
So we are so happy to have you here today, Kristen Lass, the newer, 1 year new.
Yes, just over a year.
Manager of Westford, Massachusetts. And for our listeners, Westford is a picturesque Massachusetts town. What, 25,000 people?
Just
roughly?
under, yes.
Just under 25,000 residents. Just an amazing town. Used to a very high level of service from their employees.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 17-year resident until recently, raised my kids in Westford, work in Westford. So big fan of Westford, love it.
And so I know you've inherited a very challenging time in terms of the budget. We don't want to spend a whole lot of time on that because that's an issue that just keeps bubbling and be bubbling for another while. But Mary and I are both in the real estate business, and I know you've done some tremendous work about the MBTA activities and Massachusetts Bay Transit Authority commitment, and so love to get your take on that, and then just talk about kind of being a public servant. And Mary, one other thing. Kristen did Veterans Affairs for the town of Shrewsbury.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's veterans are near and dear to my heart.
So let's talk about veterans too, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And maybe Kristen wants to tell us a little bit about herself.
Oh, wow, I'm getting guided. You see,
I'd be happy to.
In ballroom dancing, they call this back leading.
Sure.
In management theory, they call it managing up or over.
I'm not trying to manage you, Mary. I just want to make sure everybody gets, a feel for who Kristen is. And,
Go. All right.
Lovely. So
enlarge our worlds.
Absolutely. I'll be brief. So I've been the town manager with the town of Westford for just over a year. Going way back, I was born and grew up in Groton, so went through elementary and high school in Groton, and always looked at Westford as kind of the bigger town. The doctor's offices were there, Kimball's was there. I skied and raced at Neshoba Valley Ski Area. We were always in Westford for something or another. So really familiar with the area. Of course, it's changed quite a bit over time since I graduated high school and went off and started my career. Most recently, before I came to Westford, I was the assistant town manager with the town of Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, which is just outside of Worcester, has a population of about 38,000 people. And I oversaw the community development department, so all of the land use departments, planning, conservation, building, health department, veteran services, council on aging, library, recreation. So was really, really involved in those departments, but also, of course, interacted with all of the other departments. We all work together. So police, fire, the financial offices, how taxes are collected. And when I saw the town manager position opening in Westford, it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Jody Ross was the former town manager. She had been here for 14 years. She was going to end her career and retire successfully. So that was kind of, again, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get a town manager position in such a well-run community and such a well-respected community.
Right. And with a good history of good town management, really,
Right.
really excellent
Well,
town
I
management.
think that's what you mean when you say
Yes.
that, Jody was very
Successful.
successful, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Go
Yeah.
on.
No, so I was going to ask what attracted you, but obviously once in a lifetime and you know the area and you know the town. How grueling was the process?
Sure. So the process was run through the select board. I am their appointment, and they hired a consultant to go out and recruit or attract people to the position. It was pretty rigorous. The application process was, your standard resume and cover letter, but if you got to the next step, you had to submit an essay with an answer to about 3 to 4 questions, which was pretty rigorous. I went before the steering committee or the selection committee, which was a group of 2 select board members and many board and committee members within the town of Westford. I also went through a full thorough background check, which I wasn't expecting, and also a live public interview with the select board back in December of 2022, which, if you're going for a large job, generally you don't interview in public on TV in front of a
Right.
huge crowd. So that's, part of being a town manager. That's part of the show. You're always out in front and out in public, and you have to take that with your everyday.
Well, good for you. I
Thank
think
you.
a lot of people wouldn't have made it that far and probably didn't make it that far. And you seem to have done it with grace. And obviously, you have the job. So
I do.
kudos to you.
Thank you.
I love your confidence in yourself and your abilities. And that's really stands out as well. And we need that.
Yeah.
We need that for sure.
So what do you like most about being town manager of Westford?
So I like interacting with the public and understanding what they like and what they need, and then bringing that down to the staff. The other thing is the staff is amazing in Westford. We have top-notch staff here. I could not do my job every day without them. The amount of time that they spend doing their job, the amount of years that they've been in their job and their dedication there is really, really important. And then I really like that no day is the same. It's not just go in, sit at the desk, process this report, process this paperwork. It's always something different. You're learning something different every day. There's new state laws to review. There's new circumstances. There's new budget challenges. So it doesn't become stagnant. It's definitely different on an everyday basis.
That's great.
Excellent. And so you're living out in Boylston, right?
I do live in Boylston,
Lovely
yes.
town.
It is a
Lovely.
beautiful, quiet town.
Oh, it's
yes.
gorgeous. It's really nice. And did you go to Clark just graduate school or undergraduate as well?
So I went to Penn State University in State College, Pennsylvania, for my undergraduate degree in geography. I was always interested in how people interact with their environment and, the topography, as well as, how people socialize. So personal geography as well as physical geography. Then got into the private sector here in Massachusetts, becoming a planner and really understanding how people use their land, helping people permit their land for subdivisions or commercial development, or doing master plan work or open space and recreation planning work. And then went back to Clark while I was working full time to get my degree in community development and planning. And then really moved forward with that. Then the economy downturn, and I said, I don't think I want a municipal job. I really like the private sector, but the private sector was not doing as well at that point in time. And a position in Shrewsbury opened up for the Planning and Economic Development Director position. So started there in that role and then continued to move up to the Assistant Town Manager role.
I really love that in your former role, you listed off just a long list of all the different areas that you oversaw and were involved in. And I think that is a wonderful history to have being a town manager, because you really have an understanding of all the different moving parts.
Absolutely. And I owe a gratitude to the previous town manager in Shrewsbury who encouraged me to get involved in all of those departments, and then the current town manager there as well, who brought me even further along. So they really helped to mentor me through the process, and I still talk to them to this day. You can't do this job by yourself. We all need a support system, as I know you both have your support systems in each other and others.
I agree. There's power in that, for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, the other thing about the list of areas of responsibility, as you ticked them off, I was thinking, well, those are very important issues for this town. We've been hearing all about those very areas, and so it's perfect, just really, really perfect.
Thank you.
So tell us about MBTA and what it's going to mean for the town. And Mary, I know we'll have a real estate hat on as we're kind of thinking. So we do real estate, but we also do lifestyle. We just kind of do a whole lot of things here.
Yeah.
And so tell me about your audience. So are they Massachusetts audience or nationwide? Nationwide. Okay, great. So Massachusetts passed a state law in 2021 called the MBTA zoning, for lack of a better word, which requires communities who have an MBTA train stop or subway stop or are adjacent to one of those, so that's our public transit authority within Massachusetts, to zone for multifamily housing up to 15 units per acre or more. And so you think of MBTA, you think of closer to Boston, right? Boston, Cambridge, Somerville, maybe some of the South Shore along the commuter line. You think of Littleton and Acton because they have the train stations close by. But because Westford is called an adjacent community, are adjacent to Littleton, adjacent to Acton, we are required to comply with this bylaw as well. So the state set up the regulation and the law that by December of 2024, Westford must adopt zoning that allows for multifamily housing by right with 15 units per acre or more. And the Land Use Department and the Planning Board and the MBTA multifamily committee that I formed back in May has been working for the past 2 years, really, on proposed zoning language to allow this type of housing to be located in Westford. We're rounding the bend right now. The last public hearing is this coming Monday, March 4th, with the planning board, and then the zoning will go to town meeting. So any zoning for land use has to go to the Westford town meeting for approval. And some people may say, well, I don't know why we have to do this. Again, we're not in an MBTA zone, and we're regulated by the state. And I really want to applaud our land use department as well as our planning board and select board that they actually have the forethought that if we do this right and do this up front, that we will benefit greatly in the town of Westford from this type of development. Many of our seniors are still living in the 4-bedroom colonials that they've raised their families in. They can't afford that. They don't want to maintain that. They don't want to maintain the landscaping.
There's nowhere to go.
So this type of housing may allow for cottage-style development, multi-level type of development, townhouse-style development. And the Land Use Department and the Planning Board and the Multifamily Committee have really gone out and spoken with the seniors and asked what they want and what they need. They've also really engaged the younger population as well. They may have grown up in Westford. They may be out in Boston or another metro city or in college right now, but they can't come back to Westford for, again, they either can't afford it or they just don't want to live in that single family home that has been traditionally Westford. And if we do attract those developers and allow them to build these variety of different units, that makes our community more welcoming, allows for people to come in, and also creates a tax base increase that we are in a need for right now. So the select board and the planning board really say, let's do this right now. Let's get these developers in and let's welcome them to Westford.
So do the developers then bid on, you have to find the land, right, and zone it and get that changed.
They rezone the land. They'll have the right to rezone at that point.
So we are doing the rezoning. So that's not on the developer. And that's usually one of the barriers for a developer to do something. If they see, oh gosh, I have to rezone that land, that increases their
costs.
Yeah, exactly, and their risk.
And the time.
And the time.
And the risk is right.
Exactly.
That's right. Risk
So
is
we are
big.
setting the table for them. They would be coming in to a table that is open and welcome.
And then is the plan to have them like bid the jobs and you guys decide, or have several developers, or is there?
So they work the land deal out with the private landowners. The town of Westford does not own any of this land. So
So
for
like Kimball's or something like that, a big parcel in Kimball's might be in consideration. I'm sorry.
If they wanted,
Neshoba.
if they wanted
yeah.
to sell it.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
if they
Neshoba Valley is a portion of that is in consideration. There's been very public conversations between the developer and Neshoba Valley and the town of Westford about a potential housing development there. So the developer and the landowner work out that deal. Then the developer and the landowner come in concert together to the planning board to permit their project.
Is there any opposition to the rezoning?
So we have not heard a lot. Of course, there's always opposition.
We don't want to be a
to
city.
everything.
Yeah. yeah.
Everyone
Can't
has
please
different
everyone.
thoughts.
Everybody has a microphone.
Yeah.
Everybody has a microphone.
Yeah.
Right,
So,
right.
the concerns are, will this bring additional school children into Westford? And the answer really is, we don't think
Potentially.
many, because of this style of development does not really constitute places where people will bring their larger families. Westford also has been seeing a decline in their school system, so they actually have available capacity to bring in students. Also, another conversation always with new development, traffic. How is this going to create? Is this going to create more traffic? Is my commute going to be longer? Is this going to cause more congestion? Those developers will have to go back before the planning board with traffic management plans and understand if there are any congestion issues. They'll have to work that out and build that through the process. And then also, we have an opportunity for these buildings to be really sustainable. So we already have what's called the stretch code in place in the town of Westford, where people have to build according to a certain code that is beyond the standard building code.
Wonderful.
To, using heat pumps or solar or a certain window that is more insulated and additional insulation. So we think that we're in a really good spot for this right now.
Good. Mary, sounds great, doesn't it?
Yeah, I had heard that about the heat pump and all of that. So new construction can't have gas heat, like a gas line or anything anymore.
Cannot. Is there a prohibition on gas?
Well, not in Westford at this point in time. Some municipalities have limited that through an additional opt-in code. Brookline, Cambridge have adopted those.
Yep.
I believe Acton and Chelmsford may have. Westford is looking to potentially adopt that in October at our special town meeting.
Okay, good to know.
But again, it applies to new construction, not existing construction.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, we have had, decades? Let's see, since 08, 09, we've really had so little new construction. And the demand is just terrific, as we're seeing in our own business.
Yeah, I was on recently with Dr. Lawrence Yun, who's the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors. And actually in the past 2 years, if you owned, stock in a company that builds, you were making a lot of money because it really was
picking up. It was picking up.
Yeah, in the past couple of years. And so they expect to see by the end of this year a lot more inventory, a lot of people making the move that they were waiting to make because, they just weren't there yet, but there's sort of a bottleneck of divorces and downsizers and upsizers and all of that. So that's what I had heard in our industry as the prediction. But
I like the idea of tandem houses. I mean, that sounds really wonderful, where you can live in your own home still, probably in a condo environment, and you don't have to have a lot of stairs or things like that, and it really will be more conducive to older people moving out of their big homes.
Yeah, and obviously, well, I would say obviously, but maybe not obviously, some of the units will be affordable, like with mass housing and sort of under that plan.
It's not a requirement per the state law, but the town of Westford is building that into their zoning. So if the developer is willing to provide affordable housing or workforce housing, and we are able to trade off some things, we'd love for that to happen. We currently meet our Massachusetts standard for 10% affordable housing, which is 80% area median income. But a lot of people who make that much can't even afford to live in these units. So we're looking at, can we also create units that are about 80 to 120% area median income that we call more workforce housing. Your police officer, firefighter, teacher, or nurses starting early in their career, other types of trades and positions. So yeah.
No, it seems positive to me. I think all in all, I like the idea of more housing and more affordable and usable housing and places for seniors to go and be happy about it.
And it appears we have space, we have area, and it appears that we have traffic availability. I mean, I've lived in
Westford
much
has
worse.
a lot of land for our population.
Yes,
right?
so Westford is one of the largest geographic areas of a town in Massachusetts, 32 square miles. So our population per square mile is actually quite down. But one of the benefits of Westford is all of the conservation land that we have, all of the trails that we have, the majority of wetlands and lakes and ponds. You can go to 2 beaches in the summer in the town of Westford, which is really exciting. But the majority of where these housing units are going to be zoned for are along our Route 110 corridor, Littleton Road, which is, very commercial right now. Yep. We see a lot of office buildings that were built there in the past that are no longer used for offices because many people are working remotely. So how can we redevelop those into commercial and housing? Mixed use. How can people walk to the supermarket, the pharmacy, the restaurants? That keeps the congestion off of the road. And how can there be maybe co-spaces where if people are working from home, but it's a smaller unit, maybe there's spaces on the first or second floor that there's kind of co-work spaces that people can use as well.
It's a nice idea, I think. I like it.
And some towns are fighting it. Notoriously, Milton has, refused to comply, and they're getting punished by the state in some ways by some funds being withheld.
Yeah. How much does state politics play into a lot of your decisions?
I wouldn't say state politics. I would say state law, right?
Okay.
So I stay very much out of the politics. I'm not a politician.
Smart woman.
I'm a manager, right? The select board can dabble in politics. We have Representative Arciero and Senator Cronin. If we need something from the state, we go to them. We present the facts. But I very much stay out of the politics.
Excellent.
So what would you like to see from the townspeople of Westford? What would you like to see their involvement, or what could they do better to work with you better?
So just overall? Absolutely. We have several things right now that I think are really exciting for residents to get involved in. I won't go too much into detail right now, but we do have a huge budget crisis for fiscal 25 and beyond. There was a huge amount of inflation that occurred over the past few years, and we were locked into contracts at that point in time that we entered into in 2019 and 2020. So they were very favorable contracts for the town side. Now we're entering into a new set of contracts. We usually do a 3 to 5 year contract on our labor, trash and recycling, energy, those types of things. And we've seen a huge spike in that. So we'd love for residents to know more about our town budget, why the budget is going up, that there's not frivolous spending going on, that we are very thoughtful and careful. There was actually a budget task force that was created over the spring last year to study all of our budget aspects, town and school wide. So residents can certainly get involved by going to town meeting on March 23rd and voting at the ballot on May 7th in their local election. At that town meeting, we will be voting on the budget as well as this MBTA communities that we just talked about. And then the thing that I'm also very excited about is that Westford has never had a strategic plan for how town government works and how we respond to our residents. So my understanding is that if the loudest voice said, build X in this location or save trees in this location, that's where all the effort would go. And we have just started engaging our residents and our board and committee members and our department heads and our select board members on collecting information to create a strategic plan. Where do we want to see Westford in the next 3 to 5 years? Once that plan's created, we can allocate our budget and our resources to move forward that and hear all of the voices within the community. So that's one of my really exciting projects that I hope to be that we have engaged and started on and hope to finish in the next year.
So how would people get on this committee or board, or is it
So there's not a strategic plan committee per se. Right now, there's a survey out in the community run by Zen City. So you may see a pop-up on your Facebook page or your Instagram ad or on a web browser that you're using. That's really to set the stage of, where do you see Westford today? Where do you want to see Westford in the future? How do you rank our public safety, rank our availability of affordable housing, rank our access to transportation without a car? We're going to take all of that data and boil it down with our consultant and then actually check that data again with residents for a more open forum conversation, going to the Boy Scouts, going to the baseball fields, going to the churches, going to societies that generally don't engage in government, asking them to check in, is this correct? Do you agree with this? And then developing the strategic outcome areas, the goals of the community, and then matching that to the budgets moving forward.
So what is your
exciting.
success rate with people actually filling out the survey? I mean, is that why you do step 2 is to go out? Because people are like, oh, another thing, and they don't really understand it.
Right. So right now we're doing a scientific survey. So the company we're using is targeting specific people, age groups, gender, nationality, all of that. So we feel that will be a nice scientific survey to start. But we want to go to the areas where people don't generally engage with government. What do our renters want? Mm-hmm. They pay their rent check. They might do their thing, but they might not interact with government at all. Mm-hmm. But what do they want to do to feel comfortable living in Westford?
Yeah, they may not feel enfranchised in the sense
No, they
of,
don't. I know a few renters, and I feel like, they just live here because it's convenient for their job.
Sure,
and
right.
they don't feel a part of the town.
Right, and we want to make sure that people are feeling a part of the town, and if they don't, what can we do to make that better?
And they're a resource. I mean, to think about, because rent's rising everywhere, you're pretty much stuck, where you are. You're hoping that you get, if you have to move, get something that is comparable, but for the most part, I would say the incentives of high rents everywhere are keeping people pretty locked down.
Right.
Would be my guess,
Yeah.
So are you having fun?
I am having fun. It's also a challenge. There's a lot of challenges that I've been involved in this past year, but like I said at the beginning, the staff has been so supportive and helpful, and we would not get through these challenges without them.
You weren't alone the other night when you spoke to the Rotary. I mean, the 5 people who came, 5 amazing people came. I got a sense of the expertise of the town. The finance manager, the superintendent of education, the select board chair, and the last woman, I didn't know who she was.
So we had the school committee chair as well.
Oh, school committee chair.
Yes.
So it was, 5 people, just really up on the information, at the same time getting reactions from people in terms of, what's this going to mean to me? I don't have 9%, ability to pay 9% of increase in property tax or whatever the number is supposed to be.
Right, it is about 9%.
It's about 9%.
If the town meeting votes for it and if the election
Gosh,
comes
and
through.
if they don't vote for it, then there's the whole cutting process.
There's major cuts on
in the
town and school side. Correct.
Yeah.
And Westford is not the only community.
Right.
Groton and Dunstable have an override question coming up the week after our town meeting. Acton is grappling with this. Other municipalities throughout the state are really grappling with this right now because of our limitation to increase taxes on a year-to-year basis based upon state regulation.
State law. Yeah. I was just thinking about restaurants. Somebody I saw on Facebook the other day, 6 months ago, a box of wings at a restaurant cost this amount. Now it went up 300%. 300%. So that's a business that is trying to get margins out, profit out of these margins. And where does it go? Their limitations are very hard.
Well, it's funny. I like to have the occasional glass of wine out, and I was out at a local restaurant that I frequent, fairly often. And it was funny because they were like, oh, try this wine. And I was like, okay. And then I got the bill. It was $21 a glass. And I thought, that should not be.
So we're seeing that's the reality, right?
Yeah, that's the reality.
And the town
I think
is
COVID prices, just everything went up. And that economist I mentioned, he had said that over that period, it was like a 33% increase in prices for food and that kind of stuff. And then now we've just seen 3%. But it's on top of 33.
Right.
So, it's a lot.
It is.
It's a lot. Lumber, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. So do you have any time for, fun and recreation and Are you an outdoors person or?
Sure. So my husband and I have 2 children. We have an 8-year-old and a 7-year-old,
Wow.
3rd grade and 1st grade. So keep pretty busy with them. We have a large garden in our yard that we like to garden in the summer, and the kids love it as well. You get them to eat a lot more vegetables when they're growing and picking it on their own. My family and I, we ski throughout the winter on weekends and try to take a day here and there throughout the week if we can. And then we really enjoy boating in the summer. We get out on the ocean in our boat and just enjoy that time as well. And living in Boylston, we live right by the Wachusett Reservoir, so we have trails right in our backyard and get out there and enjoy that time as well.
Awesome. Because I've been so worried about you just watching all the intensity around what's going on right now in the town. And I'm so glad that there's the balance.
Yeah,
yes.
The January through March timeframe, there's not much balance. Yeah. And I actually heard I listen to a lot of podcasts. I hear the work-life sway. So one time a year, you're swaying towards work. The other time a year, maybe you're swaying towards life more. It's always shifting. So there's never, in my opinion, there's never a work-life balance.
Yep.
I have a lot of family support and other support to help, with kids and the home and all of that. So I really appreciate all of that.
Awesome.
That's wonderful. Well, before we wrap up, is there anything that you would like our listeners to know about you or the town or?
Well, it's exciting that it's a nationwide podcast. That's pretty awesome. So if anybody's ever coming to the Boston area and wants to come out to Westford, we'd welcome you at the town hall. Would love to see you. There's so many different aspects of Westford that are really exciting. And I do listen to a lot of podcasts about nationwide things. I'm always, what are the trends of this city doing or that municipality doing? And really like just seeing what other parts of the country are doing because Massachusetts is so unique. Our town meeting form of government, our select board form of government, always looking to see what those southern and western states are doing and even the midwestern areas for town government. And they're so much larger. They're county forms of government rather than small municipalities. So there's always little snippets that I'm trying to gather from those other areas.
I love it. Always learning based.
Yeah, and coming up here from Northern Virginia, the county ran everything. Therefore, we didn't get out of a snowstorm for 4 days. So it was a different set of priorities.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's most local, and real estate is most local.
Yeah.
And it's a fascinating world, and it's a beautiful world. And you have the most beautiful office building.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
It's a nice historic building. Westford, I never realized how much Westford values their historic character and nature. And Town Hall is historic. Our Road and Bush Center, where our recreation department is located, is historic. Some of the schools are as well. We have a museum that's run by a nonprofit for the town.
We have the Westford Knight.
Yes. So there's
the
so
Westford
much.
Knight. He isn't very historic. He looks historic.
No, he's,
How old has he been there?
I don't know, from the Knights Templar.
Okay. I have to talk to Sarah. I have to talk to Nancy Cook about that.
Yeah, there's an amazing amount of history here.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
And speaking by Nancy Cook, I'm also impressed by the level of investment of the citizens in this town.
It's amazing. When I came here, I knew that there was a high quality of volunteers, but the amount of work that board and commission members or citizen volunteers do for either a town organization or their own organization is just astounding. And without them, we wouldn't have the community that we have today.
Yeah, it's a great community.
I mean, there's a woman, 80 years old. She's my hero.
Patty
Mason. I want to be like her in 7 years. I want to be out there just every day, just working for other people.
Yep.
Yes,
she's amazing.
She is. I'm glad that I know her now.
And Nancy and all these people. I mean, just so many amazing people. And you were one of them too.
Yep.
And we are thrilled to have you here today, and we support you. And we'll talk to you again soon. I hope.
Thank you so much, Kristen.
No, thank you for having me, and I'm happy to give you some links if you link them to the bottom of your podcast and have people learn a little bit more about Westford and what we're doing today.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.